Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger, your one-stop shop for everything movie and TV related. Could you imagine a world without Disney movies? Would you even want to? The animated features we're about to discuss are epic in more ways than one. But what if we told you all is not as it seems? Some of Disney's finest movies have some very strange facts hidden in their histories. Stick around while we take a look. Frozen is one of Disney's biggest hits. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and we're not just talking about the catchy tunes. The story is heartfelt enough to keep adults entertained, while the kids are laughing at the little snowman that can talk. Writers loosely based the story on The Snow Queen by prolific fairy tale writer Hans Christian Andersen. Writers specifically played on the names of 3 of the main characters. Well, at least we think they did. Either that, or it's just a really spooky coincidence that our ultra-hyped minds have pulled together. When said continuously, Hans Christoph Anna Sven, it sounds like Hans Christian Andersen. Beyoncé is busy running the Bayhive and being a grade A superstar, but back in 2010, she was very nearly a Disney princess too. Casting director of The Princess and the Frog, Jen Rudin, was pushing to get Beyoncé to audition for the role of Tiana, but Bey never bowed. Producers wanted her to at least come in and test. Word has it that Beyoncé's camp felt like she should have had an offer regardless, even though she didn't want to try out. Instead, the part went to her Dreamgirls co-star Anika Noni Rose. Other notable stars that put their hats in the ring were the queen of the catwalk Tyra Banks and Jennifer Hudson. It's not unheard of for smaller studios to accuse Disney of ripping off someone else's work. This was the case when The Lion King was released. Some believed that the plot was directly lifted from a Japanese-American cartoon called The White Lion. There's no denying that some parts are strikingly similar. Even the names are closer than we would like to admit. The lead's lion cub is named Kimba, which certainly sounds familiar. Creator of The White Lion, Osamu Tezuka, ultimately decided that he wouldn't go down the legal route. Why? Because he loved Disney and actually didn't really mind that they pinched his idea. In Disney's defense, they protested it was nothing to do with the cartoon, but that The Lion King was based on Bambi and Hamlet. Some of Disney's best work has roots in real-life events. Pocahontas is one, while Mulan is another. The tale of the female fighter that dresses as a man to join the war is steeped in legend, so much so that the movie itself is legendary. The 1998 animated flick was funny, moving, and oozed female empowerment. Audiences dug it. You may recall that Mulan's assumed name when she joins the army is Fa Ping. This literally translates to flower vase, which is typically used to describe a woman that's beautiful but stupid. Essentially, Mulan walked right into the fray with a name that should have given the game away, but no one noticed. Yeah, remember that super creepy horror movie that you watched years ago? The girl with all the hair? No, we're not talking about Annie the Singing Orphan, but Samara from 2002's The Ring. We hate to tell you this and ruin your childhood for good, but it's kinda what we're here for. Get a load of this. The woman that voiced Samara, the terrifying being sent from hell, also voiced Lilo, as in Lilo, the sweet little kid from Lilo and Stitch. Davia Chase is the powerhouse behind it all, and clearly isn't afraid to flex her acting muscles, even if it means throwing us for a loop. Or should we say, a ring. Monsters, Inc. continues to be a beloved jewel in the Disney Pixar crown. While Mike and Sully are arguably the most popular personalities from the feature, we can't forget Boo. She's the kid that basically helps them to smash the patriarchy by bringing down the corporation once and for all. Without them, monsters would still be scaring kids witless instead of making them giggle so much they pee. Boo was given her nickname by Sully, but her real name is actually Mary. Although it's not mentioned directly in the movie, drawings on on her bedroom wall have her name on them, giving the game away. Not to diss the name Mary or anything, but Boo definitely sounds cuter. These days, we've got all the advanced technology to make animated movies look like the real deal. However, there's no denying that the oldies are still the best. The Jungle Book may not be the creme de la creme of animation by today's standards, but it's a classic. Fans may remember a gang of buzzards that sounded suspiciously like the it band of the time, the Beatles. Sadly, all hopes of getting the band to voice the birds were dashed when John Lennon turns the offer down. When the live-action 2016 remake rolled around, producers tried their hardest to get Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr finally on board. Once again, they declined, breaking hearts. Brave is a sweet Scottish caper that tells the story of Merida and her mother's fractured relationship. Things quickly begin to go from strange to insane when Mommy Dearest is turned into a bear, but it seems to bring the two closer together. If only our moms had been that easy to talk around when they were gnashing their teeth. One of the most striking elements in the picture is Merida's beautiful curly red hair. It was unlike anything audiences had ever seen before in an animated creation. Mainly because it was 3 years in the making. Artists had to come up with a whole new type of animation to make it work. That certainly makes you appreciate the aesthetic a little more, doesn't it? Toy Story fans have wondered for over a decade why Andy doesn't have a dad. Just one search of internet fan forums will bring up multiple threads on theories, each one crazier than the next. Did he pass away? Was he abducted by aliens? Is his spirit trapped in Woody and that's why he won't leave his side? Sadly, the answer is much less fantastical and boring. It was all down to money. And no, we're not talking about some shady cartel deal that went wrong and cost him his head. The studio didn't want to spend an unnecessary amount creating another human. Instead, they figured that Andy's mom would be enough to propel the story forward. I mean, they weren't wrong. As adults, most of us are wise enough to know that what we see on TV isn't real. As much as we would like talking trees to guide us through life or a bunch of sweet dwarf buddies, it's not gonna happen. It's a pipe dream. Kids, on the other hand, they're not quite that savvy. On the release of The Princess and the Frog, a bunch of girls went out and started trying to find their soulmates. Yep, they laid big, fat, sloppy ones on any frog they could find, but instead of catching feelings, they caught salmonella. 50 cases were confirmed across the US directly after the movie hit theaters. Oy vey. When you think of Bambi, you most likely think of the sweet little deer that couldn't walk. His little legs were like jelly, and he was the most reluctant prince of the forest we had ever seen. Now, take that little guy and forget everything you know, recruit! It was all a lie! Okay, maybe we're being a little dramatic, but Bambi's voice actor really did grow up to be the toughest guy around. Donnie Dunnigan was 6 years old when Disney hired him, but he didn't stay meek and mild forever. Instead, he joins the military by 18, going on to become the youngest drill instructor in Marine Corps history. The Lion King didn't just come under fire from people accusing animators of stealing the story. Another group to take aim were biologists, specifically hyena biologists. One person was particularly offended and decided to take Disney to court. They claimed that the movie damaged the reputation of the mischievous animals, portraying them as villains. They certainly were antagonists throughout the feature, but needless to say, the case didn't get very far. Disney might have been less than complimentary about the species, but something tells us they're not really that bothered. You didn't see any hyenas rushing up to a judge and pleading for a chance to redeem themselves. They took it on the chin. The same can't be said of biologists. It's hard to imagine Toy Story being the only movie of the franchise. Now, there's 4 different ventures that have taken place, each one taking our favorite toys on a new journey. When Toy Story 2 was in production, things went disastrously wrong. Someone accidentally hits a button that rapidly tears through everything in a file and deletes it. The team watched on in horror as bits of the animation they had worked on for months disappeared. The only way to stop it was for them to manually unplug the computers and hope for the best. Despite their best efforts, the majority of the animation was gone. By a stroke of luck, one of the artists that was on maternity leave had a copy of everything. Thank God for moms! Say what you will about Tom Cruise's personal life, but there's no denying that he's a handsome son of a gun. Back in the 90s, he was considered one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Well, he still is. It's his classic dark and brooding persona that inspired artists to model Aladdin on him. If you see pictures of the actor and character side by side, the resemblance is clear. Interestingly, Animators first wanted Jasmine's Boo to be based on Michael J. Fox, aka Marty from Back to the Future. However, that version was a little too cute and needed more of an edge, so they switched to Maverick himself. What do you know? It worked like a charm. Snow White's dwarves are some of Disney's most recognizable characters, and for good reason. There's one for everyone. Prone to hay fever? Hey Sneezy! Don't like mornings? How's it going, Grumpy? They're great. But what if the studio had gone with some of their alternate choices? Hickey, Stubby, Burpy, Blatty, Tubby, and Stuffy were all on the list too. Somehow those monikers don't sound quite as catchy as the ones we ended up with. You couldn't have Snow White without Doc for a start. What do you think? Which entry rocked your world and blew your mind? Do you know something we don't? Sound off in the comments below. Before you go, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.